everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of the Hall of Gamers podcast. This week, I'm joined by Cameron, as always.
Hey.
And our very special guest, Ray, also known as Vudix.
Hey, that's me.
This is going to be a little bit of a different episode. We've sort of cut everything out. We're just going to be doing a bit of an interview. We've got a few questions. Ray's joined us before in the past, back on our Real Gamer Score, but we thought we'd have him back to sort of see what the state of achievements are now and see how things have changed over the few months. So we'll do a bit of the interview stuff. We'll have some questions, but if you guys have any questions, make sure you put them in the chat if you're watching on Twitch. Otherwise, we've pulled a few from our Discord server. We do these shows live on Twitch every week. As Hall of Gamers Pod is the place to come watch us. But without any further ado, let's get into having a chat with Ray here. Ray, I guess the first thing is tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of why you're on the show and that sort of thing.
Sure, yeah. Just kind of recapping from last time. I'm a senior developer and acquisitions manager, and lately I've actually been dipping my toes into project management. So I'm kind of getting a little bit of an upgrade as of late. One of my little hobbies that I do is I run around and talk to other devs to fix achievements. That's kind of the shorthand of things. There's a lot more in between. My favorite thing that I'll say is that I always take a broad stroke of everything when I'm talking to other people. There's definitely a lot more that goes into some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about today, but that's all like super technical jargon that isn't going to be easy to follow.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. So I guess doing the stuff that you do with various developers, you guys got a good Discord, right? Achievement fixes.
Yeah, that's right. There is an achievement Discord. So there's another one for a while, and then we kind of went through some growing pains and got a good system down, and now we're rolling with achievement fixers for now. There's a full outline of kind of what the server expectations are, how we line up with TA, and very much so like showing that we're a separate entity. We never want to tack on true achievements as blessing us off. This is definitely an outside thing happening with a group of separate people who just happen to be on TA.
I mean, that does sort of make sense, right? I mean, it's kind of hard to be anywhere in the achievement hunting community without having people on TA, right?
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of staff on there, so sometimes there's a misconception that TA is blessing off on it. There's definitely some dicey stuff that happens there, but not like dicey in a exploitation kind of way. It's more like getting into the nitty gritty of how a game works and why it works to then figure out how to help somebody else action a fix on it.
Gotcha. Right. Can you talk a little bit about how that works from a sort of procedures and kind of what the aim is? How do you what's the process, I guess?
Okay. So a rough process of how we would fix a game would be, let's say somebody just played this game. It just came out yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. And there's already 10 to 15 people saying, hey, this achievement is broken. It's literally for playing the very first level in the game. There's no way that we would miss it. And we all have the achievement for level 2. So there's no way that this achievement doesn't work. So that gets reported up. It's like, oh, okay, I see it. Other people see it. All right, we just got an official report saying that this is broken. TA has flagged it and everything. So the first thing that we look at is, all right, do we know exactly what's wrong? Okay, in this case, yes, we do. It's just that the achievement doesn't unlock upon meeting the requirements. It's possible to meet the requirement. It's just that you don't get the achievement. And then that helps us narrow down what kind of problem that we're starting to look at. Because you have a lot of different things in play when you're talking about somebody else's achievements, because it's almost like you have the answers to the test. You just need to know what kind of test you're taking.
Right.
You're still trying to figure that out. So once we narrow down exactly how it's broken and what possible things it could be, then we look into things like, who is this developer and who is this publisher? What is their relationship? Is that publisher, a license carrier? Do they just manage the stock keeping unit on the store and kind of run funding, promotional, marketing, and support? or do they produce the port themselves? Because then that changes who we need to talk to. Because you'll see plenty of instances where a dev will say, it's not me, it's my publisher. And a lot of people will take that as, oh, this guy's giving us excuses. In reality, he's being completely honest with you. He has no oversight of the sport. And you'll see a lot of issues and instances between developers and publishers. There's a perfect example of something we've been talking about in the Discord lately. It's a game called Sweet Witches, and there's a stack for Windows 10 and the normal like Xbox One version. They have the exact same achievements that are broken. And immediately I was like, that's strange. Usually you see a different version on what is technically a different platform. There would be some variance in what's broken if both of them have broken achievements. Skipping past the whole rabbit hole of how we got there, it turned out that was an exact replication of the instance that I'm talking about, where the developer had a completely different version that they then passed on to the publisher, and that publisher made their tweaks and then uploaded an incorrect version.
Right.
So the discrepancy in that case was specifically between Lumen Section and Dragius. Lumen Section was like, okay, the player should be seeing something along the lines of version blah, 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 blah in the corner. And instead, what the players were seeing was version editor. So clearly a tweaked and modified, not vanilla version, showing us, okay, the issue is 100% with the port produced by the publisher. And it's specifically a tweak made in between. But yeah, that's basically like, those are the kind of things that we're looking for back into the process. You know me, I love to go on a quick tangent when I find a good spot to talk about something juicy. But so we'll narrow down what the problem is and who we need to talk to. And then once we figure out who we need to talk to, we figure out what our timeline looks like. When can they action this fix? What kind of help do they need? Do they need help? Do they know what the fix is already? And we help narrow down those kind of things. And then once we start building up, like, okay, you've got a timeline for when you're going to fix it. We know when things are going to happen. We start outlining essentially what is a play-by-play of when this patch should hit the ground running for players. And then we start pushing that information out. And you'll see every now and then I'll drop a note on like the TA forums, like, oh, this just hit QA, so it should be out in like 2 to 3 weeks. That's generally how long QA for Microsoft takes. So at that point, you can kind of draw conclusions based on past behavior and then throw that out to the public. And then eventually you'll see your patch. Hoo-ha, the whole world works.
Gotcha.
That's kind of like the shortened version.
And that's kind of the idea. That's the ideal path to a fix, right?
Right. Yeah. There's definitely been a lot of other crazier things that have happened in between. Like, some people don't consider that these kind of things are possible, but I've run into issues as grave as, games being completely published without the developer's consent. Like they didn't even know that they had an Xbox port, and a lot of other dicey things of that nature. So you can quickly find yourself in a legal issue as well. Trying to, maybe not you particularly, if you're just a random person who's reaching out saying, hey, this is broken. But somebody in my shoes, you could quickly find yourself stumbling upon what could be a giant legal issue between those two parties.
Right. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah.
Which makes things a lot more difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess going from that, we've talked to like Dwaggy, like off the podcast before about a policy change potentially coming in. Do you want to talk a little bit about the policy change in the Achievement Fixes Discord?
Sure. Yeah. So we're still at a phase where we're all kind of discussing what we think that should look like, and how we want to implement that. The part where that all gets gray, and it's funny that I say implement because it's not us implementing it at all. This is something that we completely have to look at. Although I'm somebody who has good connections to Microsoft and good ties, and I know a lot of good people there, it's still very much so. I don't technically work there as an official capacity employee. So trying to advocate for a policy change is not only, I have to Shark Tank it. And realistically, we have to build up our street cred for achievement fixers to be able to bring up doing something like that. Like, it could be a very long time before you see something like that happen. And I'll be honest, I'm most likely not going to be able to rely on my civilian career. It's more likely going to be my military innovation career that finally gets us the in to speaking to people who are higher up the chain. Like, I would have never met Charles Lamanna doing my normal game developer stuff. There's no way I would have. It was solely because I was in the Army, and he was talking about low code solutions, and there was a seminar I was invited to. That was the only way that we met. And it definitely would have been something so easy to do. And when you talk about having this kind of policy change, you're talking about essentially changing, the entire structure of how achievements work in general. When you get into the concept of Microsoft being able to change achievements willy-nilly, completely remove achievements, changing the system to be fully in their control is a massive, massive company change. And, at that point, you're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar company essentially listening to one guy on the sideline and a bunch of people outside of the bubble on why it's a good idea for them to spend all these resources changing this, seemingly innocuous feature to the majority of, the populace that plays their games.
Sure.
Like, realistically, Microsoft is always going to have to cater, even if they don't really intend to, or they don't like to admit this, they're going to have to cater to, your average player, and this is no disrespect to anybody if this is you in the audience, but, the 17-year-old high schooler that vapes and comes home and then plays Madden, goes to sleep, goes to school the next day, and he's just worried about his Madden games. The 25-year-old McDonald's guy that solely plays Call of Duty and then, comes home. That's the key audience there, and they're looking for those big titles. So when there's those minor issues on titles like that, like those sports games where X achievement is broken, they don't necessarily care to push the buttons on EA and risk burning that bridge, because they could easily, go the full 10 yards and say, hey, we're going to do XYZ if you don't fix this. But at the end of the day, that's not profitable, and it's highly risky for them to, say something like that to them, because those are their big money makers.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. It's
Back to your question, my bad.
No, that's.
I swear you used the Madden example last time you were on the show too.
Yeah,
I think I did. Yeah. But in terms of what the policy change is, right now we're looking at it either being a concept of removing achievements that don't work, or reallocating the points to those functional achievements, or entirely changing how that system works and then having it be fully in Microsoft's hands. Personally, the thing that I feel is easier to try to facilitate are, rec changes for studios that still have access to everything. Like a perfect example of one that happened in between the last time I was on the podcast, Bad Dream Coma. They had an achievement that was centered around getting each type of ending. For whatever reason, they couldn't figure it out or get it to work. And I suggested the idea of doing a rec change instead. Now that achievement is for poking a crow.
Right.
Which, thankfully is much easier to do.
There was a case of, was it Digirati? That you were suggesting that as well, or am I just talking on the backside?
What do you mean with Digirati?
Like rec changes as well.
Oh, right. No, you're right. Yeah, we were trying to talk to them about that as well. There's a couple of Digirati folks that are in there. Let's see. I forgot what his name is, but I know there's he goes by Saw Dude in the Achievement Fixers Discord, and then he has a buddy named Nicholas Rage on Discord, and that's another person that I was talking to long before. And there's, the concept was suggested a long time ago, but we didn't really get cracking at it. I don't think we're going to achieve a lot of results with Digirati immediately, because there's some games that they don't have access to anymore that we haven't really discussed in the Discord. I don't think I've brought it up yet, but there's some titles that they don't have access to anymore. that there was one that they said they were going to work on fixing right away. I think it was the Magister or something like that. They said that they would try to get after that.
I guess my question is, how do you get started with something like this? Like, how does this idea form? How do the connections get made? You know, what's the inciting incident for a community like this to sort of spring up around achievement fixing? I mean, obviously, you know, achievement hunting is a big thing. We talk about it every week, but you know, unobtainables are usually, you know, for most achievement hunters are like, oh well, that's just a reason for me not to play this game, or that's a reason for me to complain about it somewhere, or you know. It's usually not something that's like, well, I want to go and get this fixed. It's like, well, you know, at most I might send an email to a developer, ask them a question about it, but
like,
that's pretty much it.
Cool, I've saved myself $20 not picking out that tile, which does affect them as well.
Honestly, I think part of why this has gotten so much traction, and this isn't to gas me up or anything, but I think it's because, one, we have somebody who does have connections and can assist and facilitate. And then we also have a bunch of people who are heavily motivated and results driven, you know, in the Discord, like Dwaggy, you know, and you've got the TA mods that are supporting in terms of like being there, like saying, hey, you know, we like seeing achievements fixed, not like officially endorsing with TA or anything. I just want to keep that on record for anybody listening that it's not officially TA endorsed, but you know, being there and saying that, hey, we like this idea of games getting fixed, you know, getting out there and being positive about a fix, because it's too often that you'll see you know, the silent complainers and bystanders saying like, you know, X game sucks, and then never reaching out to the dev properly. Like you only get as much as you can put into it. Like there's been so many instances where I've seen somebody complain and hate, and then reach out to that developer and they'll be like, I've never even knew this was an issue. Like there are plenty of developers who do read TA forums, but for the ones who have never even heard of TA, and then I show them a forum for their game, it's a night or day wake up call. And I'll actually go ahead and share 2 stories right away, really quick, of 2 pretty sizable groups, snapshot games for Phoenix Point recently. I showed them, we had a pretty decently long discussion about what was broken. And then I talked about how there were online forums discussing it, and you know, they gave them pause for a second. They were like, "Oh, there's forums other than our forums that are talking about this. Yeah, let's see." And then I showed them, and of course, some very crass comments. And you know, I mentioned that too, like, "Hey, you know, watch out for some nasty comments here, but take a look at all the data that's there." And it was kind of like a realization, like a wake up call, like, okay, people care about this stuff, and there are a lot of people on this forum. I think it was a good like 15 or so people who were talking and having like a pretty relatively long running conversation about what was going on. So it was enough to say like, okay, there are people who are, you know, when you see a forum like that, there's more people who are interested than just the guys who are posting. Yeah. So if you're already seeing 15, there's probably more like 45, 50 who are actually looking at this post and talking about this. So for them, it was like, oh man, okay, we need to get after this. We need to figure this out and step it up. For another publisher, and I think this will be some big news that hits here in a little bit, Big Way Games, I was talking to them about fixing some achievements on some of their titles. Mainframe Defenders was the main thing that I was worried about, because none of the achievements work on that period right now. And it was also news to them. It was like, oh, okay, achievements really do matter. Like, we know Microsoft cares, but people actually care about these achievements? What? And I gave them examples of, you know, achievements done well, achievements done bad, you know, what it looks like just to have functioning achievements, how the achievement system has been manipulated in the past, you know, and what kind of markets other people look for involving achievements. Unfortunately, for me, I didn't feel like it was really the desired outcome. They liked the idea of fixing all of their achievements, but they also really liked the idea of adding 1000G title updates. Yeah, so right. Big Way Games will probably be adding 1000G title updates to most of their titles here in a little bit. Whether that's good news for you or not in the audience, keep your eyes peeled for that, because it's definitely something that they want to do.
If everybody's doing it, it's kind of not the bad thing anymore now, is it?
I guess it's definitely
yeah.
It's definitely more so I would say your smaller publishers and smaller developers who are doing it because they've heard about the the niche and the enhanced sales, which isn't wrong if you're trying to get up on your feet and you don't have a lot of money. You know, you got to do what you got to do, I guess. Obviously, it's not preferable to me, but they know what works.
Yeah, and there's I guess there's a difference between what's preferable to us personally in terms of being achievement hunters, and also what's good for them as a business, and then also what's good for achievements in general. It's nice when all three of those things, you know, fit together in a way that's like great, you know, tick tick tick. But obviously, you know, their business comes first, at least in their minds.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Like you know, and it's interesting. Some of them have talked about achievements as in, you know, they think that they are. I think I also covered this on the podcast last time too. Like Zidalon was exactly the one who gave me this example. In his mind, he is putting more out there in the pot, as in like in his mind, this is now, if he was a player, oh cool, I have X amount more in the pot potential to earn. Not, oh, this person's adding more to do X, Y, Z. He thinks of it as, of course, it's helping him with sales, but on top of that, he's thinking he's doing a favor. As in, look, now there's more easy stuff you can get to bring your number up higher. He's trying to give out that serotonin burst.
New player can get 100,000 in a day and feel good about that kind of experience.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we really need to start working on the gamer score inflation equation. We'll start cranking that out and start seeing where it's at. But
top scientists already on the
case. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, right. We'll get the economists on it. It's like I could definitely see his point of view, right? I mean, it's the value of gamer score from a sort of, you know, how hard it is to earn versus how, you know, how much of it you actually have, I guess, you know, differs depending on all kinds of people. And it's you know, it's not like it's super tightly controlled in that regard. But I guess I did have a bit of a question around that in terms of like for you know, you've talked about this last time, but I imagine we probably have a few new people who haven't heard the episode. But do you want to talk a little bit about how this kind of stuff happens in terms of like how games come out without achievements working, or what the process is for adding achievements in, and sort of Microsoft's take on all that?
Oh, it can be so many different things. It can be a hiccup in QA. It can be a hiccup where everything has worked on everybody else's versions except for when it hits your console. Now that it is on your console, specifically like the consumer console with no extra fluff, no extra tools, now something doesn't work in the complete package after it's being pulled for Microsoft. They can upload a good version and you can pull back a bad version. And they have to figure out what that tweak is so that you're not pulling in a bad version. Like there are so many different things that could be wrong. And don't get me wrong though, it's still going to be on that publisher to figure out, you know, or that developer to figure out what's going on with that version getting pulled. You know, that's making it not work. And there are plenty of ways to replicate that. You know, but there are so many different types of achievement errors, especially based on what it could be. And I always liken it to handwriting. Everybody writes things down differently. And it's the exact same way with anything that you code in software. It's all written differently how somebody else wants it. And this is why you keep seeing the same kind of errors happen, because there isn't crosstalk between studios like that. A lot of these indie guys that come out with something broken, they're still figuring it out. So they're still making these mistakes. They have to learn how things work first. And of course, there are technical documents that Microsoft provides that help, but you're still going through a journey where you're essentially combing through, you know, what is hundreds and hundreds of hours of potential documentation to go through. And, you know, you only have an inkling of what you're trying to look for in a lot of cases. Like there's so many things that developers can do that simply does not happen or rarely happens. Like I'm sure some people have seen, what's that game that's on Xbox Insider right now? It's something daddy. It's where you run around and you can kill the baby and the baby's trying to like die or something.
I've got no idea for this.
Really weird. It's called Who's Your Daddy or something.
Right. Okay. Right.
All right. So the object of the game. This is going to sound crazy for people who are tuning in. They're like, "What are these guys talking about?" but the object of the game is you're a baby who's trying to die. So you run around and try to find ways to kill yourself. And as the dad, you need to run around and stop the baby from trying to kill itself. So like the baby drinks some bleach, you give it some medicine. Like it's super off the wall. It's been out for a long time, but now it's come to Xbox and hit insider access. But that's something that pretty much almost any game can do is they can throw their game up on insider access for Xbox. They can even release flights to specific players only. Like I could say, just you guys, just the two of you, I'm going to throw you guys a specific flight. And it's its own individual package. Like everybody else could have the game right now, right? And I'm going to give you your own separate package that only the two of you have to test out a feature. And then I'm going to release that to everybody else. Right. And once you've already uploaded, it's a simple like check the box, release to everybody. It's not another process you wait for because it's already gone through QA. Like those are the kind of awesome things that you just don't see really happen. It just goes through internally and then gets sent out because nobody really does, that kind of remote player testing, and nobody really likes to take care or take advantage of those kind of features, which is unfortunate. But there's that's the tip of the iceberg. There's so much cool stuff you can do that Microsoft has available.
So yeah, there are definitely tools out there and documentation and all that kind of stuff. It's not for lack of knowledge or lack of potential, right? It's usually to do with either misunderstandings or just
resources or
right and mistakes. It's usually like people just don't know. Like a lot of people, it's you're going through this thing for the first time or you're getting this experience, and it happens a lot. Even when people say this is a team we know, they should know better. There could still be staff rollover, staff rotation, a new type of mistake. One thing I always hear about is, and this is what drives me crazy, is the whole debate of, they coded it just like a platinum. They just copy and pasted the achievement list over. That's not how that works. You cannot do that.
I was just about to bring that up, actually.
Yeah. Every time I hear it,
goodness.
just like, you're just pulling your hair out.
Yes, it's me. It's
like
me
how many times do I have to
scream
into the void?
Oh man, yeah, it's screaming to the void, and the void screams back, "No, it's the platinum." I promise you, that's not how that works. There are plenty of instances to, even if you, for whatever reason, like Vudix doesn't know what he's talking about, blah blah blah. There are plenty of games that have had this issue where they only have an Xbox port. Leave me alone. But yeah, that's the same kind of boat. It could be a lot of different issues. It could be certain achievements are only saved locally and are only counting for your one save file. If you make a new save file, it's not registering those other achievements. There are examples where people have had to essentially earn shadow achievements. Like they have every achievement except for the last one, and they've had to go through and re-earn them without actually popping them all on a new save file to then get that achievement to pop, because there's an internal achievement list or an internal tracker.
Yeah, right,
or like an unlock list. Like there are plenty of weird things like that can happen. There's even been things as simple as somebody typed achievement instead of achievement. There are even things as like somebody's got 47 achievements in the game total, but they've coded their unlock all to be 47 of 47, even though the 47th is the achievement for getting all achievements.
Right.
So there's so many different ways that you can go about messing those things up. And then, when people say, how come not all achievements have, trackers associated with them? That's another step that you deliberately have to say that you want this achievement to track. And there are, little documentation that you can even look up that's pretty much public if you just want to see, what it should look like when you're creating an achievement. Like there are plenty of things that denote, some of the examples I'll use is like is secret. It's literally a line that you place in is secret, denoting that this achievement is secret. You can't see it. I don't know. It's not it's definitely not a grand exquisite puzzle. It's a lot more simpler than you might think in terms of understanding what could be wrong, and then providing that information to the, for lack of a better term, the nerds cranking out the ones and zeros to get it fixed.
For sure. I guess my other question is, in terms of what's in that documentation, does that obviously includes, how to make an achievement do such and such, or how to build an achievement? Does that also include examples of use cases or best practice?
Not 100%, but yes.
Right.
Okay.
If that makes some sense. Like it won't.
Sure.
It doesn't give you like a play-by-play, but it gives you exactly what you need.
Gotcha. So it really is just kind of people not being aware, or just mistakes.
Gives you the tools, but not the answers.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times people aren't even seeing that those tools are there, or realizing that those tools are there.
Yeah.
Cameron, what other questions do you have?
I guess from that, I wanted to ask what effort goes into making an achievement. Like, where do we begin? Like, how does an achievement list get drafted up? Like, what's the process?
This is that you're gonna find this a little bit funny. So it's quite literally a bunch of people huddled around a room, saying, "Hey, what should our achievements look like? What do you think would be cool? What do you think would be fun? Do you want to make them hard? Do you want to make them easy?" And you come up with what you want first. It's the same thing as if you were, about to, I don't know, make a shirt or make any other kind of product. It's you decide what you want first, and you kind of outline what you want these achievements to be. And then after you've outlined what all the achievements are going to be, you figure out how you're going to do that technically. So that's when you start narrowing down, achievement is time-based, date-based, position-based, XYZ. Like you can specifically say, like I've heard people say like, oh, why can't people just change it so an achievement unlocks when the game starts up? Well, you can, but you have to denote that to specifically be something. There has to be a why and a reason for. So like if you ask somebody to verbatim that, like a developer, like, oh, can you just make it so it pops right when the game starts? Technically, no, but technically, yes. Like a great example would be achievement will unlock, this is not verbatim at all, but achievement will unlock once player has been in the game for 2 seconds. Like, you can make them like that. You can make them specifically player will be on X, like Halo holiday achievements. Player will be at X position staring at this icon. Like you can even configure it to be exact heading of field of view if you wanted to be that nerdy about it.
Wow. Okay.
It's just exactly how specific you want it to be. Which is why you might run into those finicky achievements where it's like, oh, I'm staring at it, but it's just not the right angle because it's not recognizing that you're there in the correct position. That's when it gets really complicated though. That's when you're looking at achievements that have multiple factors in play instead of just, simple stuff like, hey, this, the player has completed X quest. That's literally sending the request saying this achievement has been completed now that this is done. Imagine it in your head as 1 of 1 has been completed, achievement unlocked. Gotcha. Like completing a quest. Anytime you see a quest complete achievement, like there are plenty of them. And I just played GTA Vice City. There are plenty of them. Or like San Andreas, same kind of thing. Player has completed end of the line. Realistically, what that looks like on the back end is 1 of 1 prerequisites has been complete. Boop, achievement unlocked.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
I
guess from that.
Yeah, you have to get really technical.
Yeah.
If you want to actually,
get
a full grasp. Like I'm even making broad strokes of it, and it's only really half true saying it like that. You really have to see it to understand it, and then break it down technically.
Yeah.
You only have so many if-then statements.
I was going to ask next, talking about yourself for a second here, what's your favorite or even most memorable achievement in a video game?
I don't know. That's difficult. I mean, I would say Halo Lasso, like Lasso Master, just because it was, it was such a long journey, and I really liked it. But there are plenty of other games that I think were great experiences, or were definitely tests of skill. Any Dark Souls game like Sekiro, very memorable experiences. Not necessarily because those were hard, but because I love those stories. Like there's somebody I was talking to not too long ago from Software, just essentially gushing about how much I love every From Software game. And it was actually when we were talking about Enchanted Arms, the Asian stack, trying to figure out how to get that fixed. Um, but yeah, like any From Software game, like I'm in love with it. Yeah, the guy I was talking to about it was Hiroyuki Goto, and we started talking about Elden Ring as well, and just I don't know. For me, that's gonna be my new most memorable once Elden Ring comes out. Like I'm considering taking vacation days to play Elden Ring. Like that's how much I'm excited for that game. It looks so amazing. Good. I mean, it's George R. R. Martin. It's From Software. It's like
I mean, that's the only way.
Like, I have to play it.
It's the only way to quantify hype these days is how many vacation days you're using against that particular video game.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
It's like, actually, I see all these publishers, like Call of Duty does it every single year, of, hey, here's the sick note. And I just think, downloads, how many downloads is happening there of this person to fake use a sick note for that to quantify as hype? There needs to be some engagement equation there.
I was going to say that, there's a marketing metric in there. I guarantee it. Oh, yeah, I'm totally with you. I love all the From games, and I'm so excited for Elden Ring. It's gonna be amazing.
Looks pretty great. From what I saw of people playing the public tests last month. Sorry, the private tests last month.
Yeah. Right.
We kind of touched on it before, but I wanted to get like a little bit more insight. What are your thoughts on publishers selling Gamerscore?
Realistically, as a consumer, I don't like it. As a person in the industry, you got to do what you got to do to make money, and you got to do what you got to do to feed people's families. So, while I think it's not cool to do that, if it happens, it happens. Because realistically, as a consumer, although I don't prefer it, I will likely still consume that. Like I think I alluded to this before. Either in Discord or in the other podcasts we're all in. But, if it's, I'm kind of in the Zidalon mindset of if it's in play, it's in play. I am going to also do X, Y, Z in order to, climb higher in the numbers. Like I'm pretty competitive about it, even though I'm definitely more so one of the easygoing people on TA in terms of points. I still have the mindset of if it's in play, it's in play. I'm going to try to grab it.
Got to complete it, right?
Right. Like I know somebody else is going to cash in on those points, so I might as well try to cash in on the points too, because they're going to skyrocket past me with all of these 0 to 1 hours. So if I can squeeze one in on a lunch break, I might as well.
Yeah, I always going to do it, but we're just all going to groan about it.
Well, that was the thing, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
That's like when Mephisto challenged me a couple months ago around. He wanted to overtake me on the Oceania leaderboards before the end of October, and he was like, cool. He was about 80,000 behind me, and so I was like, well, looked at his list and like, man, he's played a lot of short games. Do I want to take the high ground, or do I just like at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, right? Like we'll bitch and moan about it, and we'll say, we'd prefer that this wouldn't happen, or this is the thing. But at the end of the day, if everyone else is using steroids, what are you going to do? Just juice up, I guess. Yeah, just do whatever it takes to get the numbers up. I totally get it. I'm 100% the same way. Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about what happens when achievements like go offline or discontinues and that kind of stuff, or server shutdowns, and kind of how that process happens? to give insight into, people who just kind of like, oh, hey, I just got a notification on TA that the server is shutting down and I won't be able to get these achievements. Like, how did that happen? Why is that happening? Et cetera, et cetera.
I want to add to that question too. Is there any cases as well of studios being prepared, like having the hindsight? Also, how many studios do you think, like as a percentage wise, have the hindsight of, if this thing is going down in the future, let's try and maximize it so these achievements don't go down?
Foresight, you mean? But yeah.
Yeah, have foresight. Yeah, sorry.
Very rarely. Very rarely. Like the example I always throw up in the air is Disintegration. They were one of the people who had the foresight of saying, I will change every multiplayer achievement into a single player achievement. There's other people who have done that, other studios who have done that. It just doesn't happen a lot because it's extra work. And, most of the time when you see like a big game having a server shut down, they don't really care, so to speak.
Yeah, they don't.
Like they care, but they don't really consider that as an option.
I feel like it's part of 2K's marketing plan for NBAs now. Like, just like
grab it while it's hot.
Get it in there.
Yeah, EA is not much better in that regard with their sports titles as well, right? It's like, well, as soon as the new one comes out, your old one starts getting shut down.
Yeah, but whenever you see like a discontinued kind of scenario happen, and it's not because of you get a couple different cases. Okay, discontinued because we're getting rid of a feature, that's one thing. Discontinued because of a patch, that's another. That's still something that needs to get fixed and addressed, and we'll try to go for it when we can. For a lot of studios, that's like oopsie, we will try to fix this. For some of them, it's, and unfortunately, in some rare cases, it's like, well, that's a wrap, we're done with it. Or, X amount of people have moved on. Like there are, and this is actually something I want to hit on really quick. I'm going to diverge from our current topic.
Go for it.
If you are somebody who is playing a game that just came out and you find it unobtainable, please flag that achievement right away. Flag it, because there are so many people who are silent bystanders who do not flag it. And that leads to months going by, years going by. Some other hapless fool gets on there, finds out that there's an unobtainable, and now they're vocal about it. But guess what? That studio is only 3 men deep, and 2 of them are already gone. And the one guy who's there has no idea how to get a hold of anything anymore. You got to report that stuff right away, so that, and if you can, reach out to the developer on Twitter, their website. If they've got Discord, get them on Discord. Nothing beats reaching out to somebody on a platform where you're getting instantaneous responses and able to relay your issue effectively. There have been plenty of fixes that I've been able to wrangle out where I've done the whole thing through Discord from step 1 all the way to the end. And we've talked about what's wrong with the game, gone through everything. There's been some fixes where I didn't even need to use any developer expertise whatsoever, where all I had to say was what was wrong. And it was like, oh, okay, we'll look into it. And then next thing I know, it was good to go. There's definitely, you don't have to be a superstar, a whiz kid, or a dev to, be able to facilitate results. You just need to be vocal, and you need to be able to hop out on these platforms and get in touch with somebody. That's the big first step, is you have to fight for yourself. And there are plenty of devs who are more than willing to bend over backwards to get a patch, especially if the game just came out. That is, do not be afraid of buying a game when it comes out. Be excited to buy a game when it comes out, because that means that you are going to be the front runner for helping get that issue fixed, if there is an issue. Erase that stigma right away.
Make unobtainables obtainable.
Yeah. There you go. I'll throw in Dwaggy's slogan real quick. We make the unobtainable obtainable. There you go.
That's great. Yeah, I guess, so the last sort of bit that I have on that is, when it comes to contacting these devs, I'm assuming that some of them are more willing or easier to get a hold of, or have better understanding of the systems than others. Is there any sort of pattern to that? Is there, is it easier to work with smaller devs? Is it sort of medium devs? I imagine it's probably slightly harder to get some of the Ubisofts and the EAs and that kind of stuff to wrangle that sort of thing. But Yeah, overall the work that you guys have been doing, what kind of stuff have you seen in terms of response from developers?
Okay, so majority of the time, it's a 50-50 toss up. If the dev is incredibly small, they will usually be ecstatic to fix the game and love the people who are playing it, and they will fix it right away. Or they will lament and be absolutely distraught that they cannot do anything anymore because they are swamped with their next project, and they only have X amount of people and they can't go back to fix it.
Right.
Or they'll say like, "Hey, I can't anymore. I was one guy, and I barely was able to make it. I didn't make enough money back. I'm there was unfortunately a situation where there's a dev I spoke to where they were sadly working a minimum wage job now because the game did not do well at all, and they could not go back to it anymore. They had to sell their equipment, and yeah, it's just a very sad situation overall.
Mm.
And I haven't released any comments about that game because I just want to just let that one ride. Like it's
Sure.
You get into a lot of difficult situations, and it's sometimes it's really rough because you'll hear a lot of very real stories that the average consumer would not be able to sympathize with. Not necessarily knowing about the background or the difficulty in between, and it's very easy to perceive that a lot of studios are alike in that they do not care or they cut and ran type of deal.
Mm.
But definitely small publishers and small developers are usually really good to work with. It's honestly it's the medium guys who are the biggest problem because that's the majority of the time they're great. They're on it right away. They're Johnny on the spot. They're ready to fix something. But those guys who aren't have many titles with unobtainables and are either completely negligent, do not care, or are rife with legal scandals. I'm currently assisting a studio with getting out of a deal with a publisher right now because of an active scandal that they have going on, where they've essentially started withholding ports. Like they have a track record of having games with broken achievements, and the consistent pattern is that those developers have pushed a patch up already to fix those issues, and that publisher is now refusing to fix or release those patches.
Wow.
Just based on things I can't disclose. But that's why I'm not even mentioning, names of who they are and XYZ.
Sure.
But you get into a lot of bad situations like that, and those are usually the groups that will have very predatory behavior when approaching a junior studio. Like I've heard the sentiment from small time developers saying I would rather go through the meat grinder of trying to of getting shut down by every major big studio I can, even if I'm not going to get picked up by EA or Ubisoft. Even if they just throw the work back in my face and say like I'm not taking this project, it's too small fry. I'd rather go through that gauntlet than try to sign up with one of those mid-sized publishers. I've heard a lot of devs say that to me. So I'll try to get them with a medium-sized publisher who will take them because you're not going to get a large-sized publisher with a quote-unquote small fry title. It's just not going to happen, especially if it's like your first studio game. Most of the time it's not going to happen because you don't really have a personality of who your studio is or what you do or a track record of sales or anything. It's very hard and almost unheard of to just do that. Usually if you get picked up by a big studio, a lot of the times it's either you've got some real gold on your hands or you're a sister studio or a junior studio, or you've done outsourced work before. Like there's some history there or some connection already.
Foot in the door.
But yeah, right. And for the consumers, those are the two groups that are definitely the easiest to reach out to. I'd say I've been handiest with working out issues with the large scale studios out there, because that is where you really need a foot in the door to get past, like, the wave of support, issues just getting thrown around. Yeah, I'd say that the most painful support experience has been, for consumers, what I've seen. Uh, like of course, I've always heard about. No, I'm not going to bring up that example. It's not a good idea. Yeah, I've seen a lot of bad stuff in terms of big studios, and supporting things. In terms of me reaching out to large scale studios, it's case by case basis on who I already know there, and then what we can work on together, and then who that person knows.
Right.
I find that usually it's a game of who I know at, like, only really at AAA studios. It's usually like a case of who do I know there, who does that guy know, who does that guy know from that guy, and so on and so forth, to then get to the end state of who I need to actually talk to.
Gotcha.
Let me get my phone
Yeah,
book.
to make something happen there. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to go through some of our community questions that
I
we've
was
got
going to
that came
say,
in?
is there anything that Vudix wants to talk about first?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
Give you the
Yeah,
chance
let me go ahead and I'll advertise and chill really quick for a little bit. So
Cool.
let me go ahead and pull up. I have some notes today for you. Ooh, wee, gee willikers. Let me find them really quick. Let's see. So there's a lot of fun, cool, kooky stuff coming out here in a little while. And some stuff you might want to turn your heads towards if you're looking at, what kind of hot upcoming games are going to be coming out that you may or may not know about, for Xbox. Siege of Dungeon is a game by Binary Tree Studio. If you haven't heard of that, you should definitely check it out. It's something I've been minorly affiliated with. I think I've posted some art and some work in progress stuff in the past for it. I'm personally very interested in it, but that's also because I'm affiliated in some way.
Sure.
And I think that's going to be a good treat. It's from an overseas studio, so it's definitely going to be very wacky, very detailed, and of course over the top. Over the top. Love it. Some of the more soon to be stuff that I think will be hitting consoles that I'm more directly affiliated with, and this where I'll advertise for myself and friends. Hearts of the Dungeon List is an RPG / visual novel coming out here in a little while from Nick Bemis. Nick Bemis is a personal friend of mine. He literally lives in an RV, travels around the world, and makes his game at the same time. Very, very cool guy. I encourage you guys to look up some stuff about Hearts of the Dungeon List. Should be hitting Xbox pretty soon. Definitely coming up in this next year. I've also talked about another visual novel in the past called "Don't Take It Personally, I Just Don't Like You"
I
by
love the art
DeCoster
style
Games.
on your blog.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Oh yeah, it's killer. It's killer. And Christian's getting real close to being done with the game now, and we should be hitting up consoles pretty soon and going through the ID at Xbox Gauntlet. Still trying to figure out if we want to self-publish or if we want to go with a good old friend of mine, Radalaika, good old Adrian over there at Radalaika. Based on the engine, I think we'll probably try to go with Radalaika, just because I think you've heard my spiel before, but Ren'P, Construct 2, all that stuff. Radalaika makes that very easy for junior devs, so it's a lifesaver, because usually those kind of engines, those more rare niche engines, you can get gouged, heavily price gouged for percent of sale, or for contract, whatever you may have it. So that's a lifesaver there, and good stuff to Radalaika, always doing great things for junior devs. Let's see. What else do I want to talk about? Let's go ahead and talk about Away From Home a little bit more. Away From Home is, I'd say it's the project I am the most immersed with right now. And we'll be dropping a trailer for Away From Home, a brand spanking new trailer, come January, and then we'll be looking at hitting up a Kickstarter campaign. I won't disclose too much yet, but it's funnily enough, it's Cameron, you're gonna raise an eyebrow. It's by a guy named Cameron Smith. Cameron Smith, personal friend of mine. Um, very very talented young guy getting his legs firmly planted on the ground for his first big game. He's poured a lot of his own money into it. Like I'm talking a ridiculous amount of money. Like this guy's eating ramen noodles right now.
Right.
Throwing every cent he has in the game. So I'm very much so looking forward to seeing this thing finally hit consoles. Full disclosure, this is the thing that I'm going to be once we're getting close to coming out, and once the trailer drops, I'm going to be shoving this down everybody's throat. Got to keep it real. I'm making money on like percent of sale and everything. Like this is big project for me. So very much so in love with the concept, the game, and very entwined with the development cycle here.
You hit it first.
Something.
Like,
yeah, you
if
heard
you want
it.
your
You heard it here
achievements fixed,
first.
you're buying this game.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Just
There
grease the
it
palm,
is.
mate. Solves all the problems. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. No, but honestly, if you see any of these games that I'm affiliated with having anything wrong with them, even minutely, there's a bug that you don't like, just report it to me directly, and I'll make sure it gets sorted. That's transparency is my big thing. I always like to be honest about what's going on, and I'm always looking forward to being able to solve issues quickly and efficiently, when possible. Now, something brand spanking new that just came up this week. I probably should have sent you some products for this. Actually, I think it probably would have been a good idea.
We can link them in the show
Let me
notes
see,
after if you like.
Yeah, I think it's all good. We can show some products after the Steam release.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and talk about the mysterious misadventures of Molly and Mordecai. So this is a project I just recently became affiliated with. I won't really disclose exactly quite what I'm doing yet, at least not publicly. But that's a game that's being created by Lunarfall. Great, lovely group of people. The gameplay so far, electrifying. I love it. It's essentially a Halloween themed spooktacular journey about a young girl essentially going trick or treating and getting entwined in the quest of searching for a lost boy and winding up in an evil wizard's gigantic mansion. Shenanigans ensue. Very, very awesome, very Coraline feel. That's definitely what I could liken it to. And the Steam release for that, the early access Steam release, should be hitting before the year's out, honestly.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's soon.
If you feel interested, hit me up, let me know, and I'll tell you all about it. Get you that early access run there.
Fantastic. Damn, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, don't even get me started on the other projects I got going on for the military. Very very stacked plate, stacked schedule lately, but it's good. It's very good. There's if you're curious after, I can tell you guys about some of the other cool stuff. There's some big events going on in my life that'll lead to me probably being a little bit less active in the fix scene, especially next week. Like if you guys are curious on a personal level, I'll break it down.
Yeah,
I just don't want to outline it on a podcast because of specifically like where I'll be like for some events.
Yeah, understandable. All right, Cameron, do you want to pull up some of those questions that our community have asked?
All right. So
and while you're doing that, I'm just going to address Nick in the chat saying that I have to do something about my hair. I have been in lockdown for 4 months. What do you want from me? All right, it doesn't grow shorter.
Allison's got a pair of scissors, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not letting Allison anywhere near them. No, absolutely not.
It's so brutal that he said that because it's what I was thinking too. I was like, man, this guy's hair right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know, right? I'm just No, that's Allison.
He's a wild man. It's been eating Hungry Man dinners and fighting bears.
All right, Carol, what do you got?
All right, so the first one's from me. Jason Ronald recently joined the Iron Lords podcast and discussed the achievement system, commenting that it is seen as a priority, however, doesn't have a time frame set. He made comments about gamers' preferences in gaining comparisons between achievement hunters, gamers who focus on multiplayer, completionists, and so forth, and finding that balance. Mike Ybarra also made comments back in 2017 drawing comparisons between being top 10 in the world at Halo 5 and having a million game score. So my question is this: with the extensive knowledge you have regarding being a gamer, achievement hunter, and a game dev, where would you like to see Microsoft take the achievement system in the future?
Oh, first and foremost would of course tie right back into achievement policies. The dream for me would be for there to be some magical way that we haven't even ironed out or begun to fathom yet for Microsoft to have more of a hands-on approach to achievements. So if something doesn't work or something needs to change, that can happen more instantaneously. That would be the dream. I think it would be interesting to see achievements handled in a way where there would be like overarching achievements or overarching like badges or something like that. I think that would be really, really neat because it's an interesting point that they've brought up there where, oh, this guy was Onyx 1 on Halo Infinite, and he got nothing for it. Like it would be really cool to see that go somewhere or, have that kind of experience brought along with their profile. Like if they almost like a Steam badge or like Steam sticker kind of concept. Like, hey, this guy was Onyx 1. He got an Onyx 1 sticker. So now on his actual Xbox profile, somebody else who's playing Sea of Thieves with him sees he's got, well, what's this fancy badge you got? Oh, I highlighted it. It says it's Onyx 1 in Halo. Oh, damn, this guy must be good at Halo. Let's go play some Halo, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be pretty neat. Like, maybe not adding additional achievements, but more like a literal achievement. Like, here's a badge.
Having something small.
I think that would be neat.
That's kind of what they used to. Some of the sort of TA features in terms of maybe like series completions and that kind of stuff to denote that you've done more than you've metagamed better than anyone else. I guess like they kind of did that a little bit in the early days of the 360, right? Where it was like some of the hard achievements would have certain gamer pictures. I remember like the original Gears had the seriously gamer pick that you could only get for getting the achievement, and so you'd see everyone with that, and you're like, oh, okay, that's like a clear sign that they've obviously played way too much Gears of War. But yeah, we just kind of haven't seen that come back, right? Any other sort of stuff on the wish list?
Oh, like other games?
Or any other sort of features or changes or?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, there's some ideas that I can't really mention yet because they might actually happen. But I can't talk about that one either. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Definitely. I'll drop a hint. It's something that Cosmin talks about all the time. Cosmin Lion talks about it all the time. That's something that is in the works potentially that I am very interested in. I don't know. I mean, yeah, just really more like the I guess more accountability over the achievement system, less bias towards large scale publishers and more love to smaller scale publishers who go out of the way to fix things. Like I always feel really bad about the Firework dev who only has like 6 tracked gamers, I think even less than that, and like 1 completion, and had a bunch of broken achievements and fixed them all. Just to have only like less than 10 tracked gamers on TA, and I think his actual sales count was like less than 30, less than 20. So I don't know. More accountability, more love.
What else have you got, Cameron?
ZNMS or Zach. Since it is December and most video game publications are getting ready to broadcast their particular best and worst games of 2021, big question is, what is your best and worst video games of 2021? Me and Matt are going to save this for next week, but yeah.
My personal best and worst, I think I'd actually have to look and dig. I think it's a tough competition, and I think you could categorize them all differently. Like I almost wish you could say there's like a most disappointing.
Oh yeah, yep.
Category
we'll
too.
add it in for you, just for you.
Yeah. Well, whatever
Okay.
games you want to talk about, go for it, mate. Just
Okay, I think for me the most disappointing would be the GTA remastered trilogy.
yeah.
And the only reason why, and I heavily sympathize with Grove Street Games. It's keep in mind it's like a 40-person studio that didn't have a lot of help from Rockstar at all, and Rockstar's just now like, okay, let's run back and help these guys.
Right.
And they had a rush deadline. I sympathize with them, but what absolutely kills me, and this is probably the biggest nitpick you're ever going to hear from me, like the most inconsequential nitpick, is that pretty much all of the NPCs just look like deep fried memes. Like, it's just Monster Mash face left and right. And I felt horrible to notice that all of the girlfriends in GTA San Andreas all had like the exact same face model pretty much with like Play-Doh hair.
Yeah.
And that was a huge bummer to me. Like CJ looked great. I don't know about Tommy. Tommy's been eating a little too much spaghetti over there. But
He's a little chunky.
He's a little chunky now. He's a little chonker. Claude looks like Claude, so that's fine. I don't know. I think the best out of those three was definitely, for me, the GTA 3 remaster felt like the best so far. That's the one I'm not the farthest in. That's like I've completed the other two, and this one I've just started. But from like the 2 hours I've played, it definitely feels a lot more, for some reason, lively. Plus all that early aughts like nostalgia just hits me at once, and it's like, like, I love it. Like everything on from the radio station all the way to the game actually looking really crisp. In comparison to what it was. So I feel like that one almost had like the most love put into it.
I mean, it's the oldest one, right?
development-wise.
So it had the most to improve, I suppose.
Right, it did. That's very true. Let's see. My absolute best game. I'd almost have to look at my list because there's so much. Let me walk out of this office real quick. I'm in an office right now. Let me walk out of my office and come over here to this. I have a console. It's right here. Let's see. I'm gonna look through some of my lists real quick. Let's hit another question while I come up with a good answer.
I'll skip forward to a simple one. Matt asks, with so many different jobs, how do you keep that many hats on?
Well, I mean, it's all about time management, really. I'm a huge fan of time management, and I think there's always room to squeeze something in, whether it's a quick phone call, an email. Like I have now here's where I'm going to sound really corny and really old. I have a daily ritual. Oh, you didn't know that. I have a daily ritual. Every day when I wake up, I check my emails right away. I check my emails on my phone. I see what's new. And, I look for responses. I look for responses back from people. And here's where the corny Army stuff kicks in. It's usually like 5 a.m. when I'm doing all this. So when I get ready, I get dressed, brush my teeth, all that, yada, yada, shave. Go do PT at like 6 a.m. with the rest of the folks over at my company. It's like a weird thing where, we're at the brigade, but we have a company that's there, XYZ. We go do our whole little thing, shebang. I come back from that, take a shower, check emails again. Then I follow up with all my new releases. I follow up with any outstanding dev work, anything that might be going on. Then I go to work and do Army stuff. And then if there's like a lull in the day, check emails again, check up on projects. If there's really nothing going on, I'm actually doing game dev stuff and calling people and working more on titles. And these kind of schedules vary. But I guess what I'm getting at is there's always time. As humans, we spend a lot of time just kind of chilling, and we kind of bog ourselves down with like, oh, I've done so much today. It's like, okay, well, do a little more. You got a little more time somewhere while you're lounging there, eating your bag of chips with your feet kicked up after a long day of work for like 15 hours, check your email real quick, send a message, see, what the new hotness is. Like this whole relationship that I've been talking about with some of these studios, like some of these have come about literally from me saying, "Hi, how are you? I am random person. I have X experience. You have X situation. Let's work together." Like you can find something and like you can create something from nothing. Like very much so. If you want to find an opportunity and you have some spare time, even like a slick margin of a couple hours, like, you can make something happen. I don't know. Now I'm rambling because it's getting late, but you guys kind of get what I mean. There's
absolutely.
always time for something. And if you've got even half decent time management skills, you can make something happen.
Time is what you make of it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like there's been, honestly, like I've seen those, I think Jeeksy is the guy. I'm butchering his name probably. But I remember I saw his whole thing where he was like, I got 500,000 gamer score in a month, and I was like, okay, well, did you also sit down and play your Xbox Series X while you were playing Windows 10 while doing 360 visual novels all at the same time? You probably could have brought those numbers even higher. Like. Those are the kind of things that I think about that keep me up. Like, oh, you could have got so many more points, man. Like,
optimization is what it's all about.
Yeah, use your time better. You could have been on your Windows phone.
You could have wrote a script to jump 10,000 times in a row for that one achievement.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, get your Cronus Max up.
Yeah.
We
had a question from Isaac asking about.
Are we gonna go back to the best game?
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah. You got me distracted a little bit, but I got too excited. It's still really hard for me because I know every time it hits the end of the year, I always fail to remember all of the other 10 billion games that came out that year.
One great game that came out in Feb.
Yeah, any even right. Just like a sort of a short list of stuff that you really enjoyed or. Yeah.
I really, really liked the Demon Slayer game that came out. That was awesome. Yeah.
We've been hearing a lot of praise from Reddit in our community.
Very well done.
Yeah, it's been on my It's been on my to play list.
Let's see. It's a little bit difficult to pick out some of the worst stuff.
That's all right. We can be positive and talk about good things.
Yeah, I'm mostly I'm a happy kind of character. I really liked playing the Yonder Cloudcatcher Chronicles again. The Xbox Series X stack. That was really good. Oh, Chivalry 2. I absolutely loved Chivalry 2. That was great. They did a tremendous job with Chivalry 2. Let's see. Big thumbs down to every single visual novel that came out that was low resolution. How dare you? How can you be a visual novel and be low resolution? Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Rascals. Yeah. Last Stop was really good. That was a sleeper hit, a Game Pass sleeper hit for me.
Played that one.
Very well done. Very good. Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, I kind of enjoyed that. Yeah. That was neat. Yep. It was good to finally get to play that for real and see what it was all about. Especially after hearing so many good things. I liked what I played of Scarlet Nexus so far, but I haven't completed it. I will hang my head in shame for that one. I do need to finish that.
It's a long one, so it's understandable. I mean, to be fair, we did just hear your schedule, so that's kind of we can probably understand.
Right. One that's definitely a sleeper hit. I'm not sure if it came out. I don't think it came out this year at all, but it's one of the things that I played this year. The Wild 8. I really, really liked it, The Wild 8. If you have not played it or haven't heard of it, you should check it out. It kicks ass.
I have to have a look at
that. One of the less enjoyable games. It's hard for me to say it's like the worst thing ever, but this definitely didn't come out this year. But one of the things that I've touched that I haven't enjoyed particularly has been Dead Alliance multiplayer edition. Yeah. Just because there's not much to write home about. You're just running around killing zombies that just kind of fall on the floor and clip through each other. So I don't know. It's just, and the groans are always just like, it's like, dude, what are you? Is that a guy? Is that literally just a guy making that noise? Like, no, I just shot this zombie. Yeah, and he's like,
Yes, they did one take, and they're like, yeah, that'll do.
yeah. After Charge, although I did not enjoy what the game was, I will forever give kudos and props to the whole team behind After Charge for the way they handled the closure. Was awesome.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Had the
Chain's awesome.
Yeah, to talk to the community manager about that, and yeah, absolutely astounding. Probably one of the best things I've seen this happen this year to the achievement community.
Yeah, I went out and grabbed a nice squad too immediately. Because they're just such a great guy.
I don't think Lauren's there anymore. I think he went to another studio. But,
let's see. I think back on the disappointment train, I will say Twin Mirror on the disappointment train.
Big agree.
But I will give the reasoning why it's on my disappointment list. When I initially played it, it was an okay game, which then became a terrible game for me after Life is Strange, True Colors came out. Yeah. And the reasoning behind it, I see why you're nodding, is because it is almost exactly the same story in a different way. Yep. It is troubled person with mental issues goes back to old mining town to solve the mystery of a murder involving mines. It's literally the same game by almost the same team.
It's scary how close it is. Yeah, I mean, because Life is Strange is probably my game of the year, at least close to it. And I also played Twin Mirror this year as well. And I was like, wow, okay, there was a lot that bothered me about that game, but yeah.
Oh, huge props to the team from Life is Strange, True Colors for the DLC. The DLC was really good, tied a lot together. It was great to see Mikey again. All very well done DLC. Because it brought it all home.
Yeah, I'm meaning to go back to it. I need to go and do that because I heard nothing but good things about it. Because I love the base game. So, so we just had a question from Isaac here.
Wait, one last one. Let me get one last one in.
Yep.
All right. The Last Dead End is probably the only game I will say was particularly quote unquote bad in a practical consumer sense.
Is that the one?
And my reasoning behind it is it's just very janky. It's like a Azerbaijani horror game.
Yep.
1.45.
I'll never forget it. I will never forget it. There was a boss battle. I remember I walked down the set of stairs and I was like, where am I? Why is it so goddamn dark in here? I turn and look, all I hear is and I was like, oh, okay, there's some enemies in here. And then I look around this pillar and it's a giant werewolf.
Yeah.
He starts tearing me up. He's beating my ass up and down all the way across this room. I run into a corner. I'm like, this is where I die. This enemy is too strong. All of a sudden, he explodes, and all of the 5 ads around him. This man has nearly a full health bar. He explodes. His body glitches into the ground, flies towards me. I freak out because I think it's a secret attack. I'm like, oh, he's going to kill me. And he just bounces off of my model. Somehow it has collision. And he flies into the sky, never to be seen again. And that was when I knew this was my real game of the year.
Yeah. I played that one too. Just so much of that game is and that amazing boss fight with the dragon at the end. That's anyway.
What a treat.
There's a lot to talk about with that game.
Don't forget that voice acting too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of the best line reads.
I am here because I am here to love you. Like what? Voice cracks and all. It's great.
Yep, they just recorded in the bedroom. They were just like, well, we've got one take of this. Let's just go for it.
Yeah. The only thing that would have made it better is if they had the bathroom buzzing or room buzz.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
In the background, audio pollution.
Yeah, exactly. Scott, we had a fan going. It was really warm that day. So we had a question from Isaac here. he said games coming out without obtainables can be patched, like you said, and that sort of stuff about contacting, through you and through contacted devs and that sort of stuff. But what is there any hope for sort of the older, outdated games that have acquired unobtainables? Like for me, for example, like I've got a few games with older like 360 titles and that kind of stuff with unobtainables on them. Are there still avenues for that stuff to get fixed? Assuming the developers still exist and that they still have they still have access to all this stuff.
Yes, yeah. When possible, we've been, and it's easier depending on what the fix is. Like Battlefield 1943 is like the magnum opus of 360 fixes, but that was also like a server-based fix, a leaderboard issue being resolved, as opposed to like actually patching something.
I was missing that achievement too, so thank you for that.
Woo! Yeah, but there are, there's plenty of opportunities to still fix 360 things. It's just a difficult road. Like there are even Xbox One games that are completely off the table now, just because of circumstances that have led to there not being a team available anymore.
Oh, Indivisible.
That's different.
I know. Different. Yeah.
And I think you might have already read what I wrote up about that, but I
have. Yeah.
Cannot talk about it because of what we all know about that right now.
Yeah. Another question. We had a question here from Charmander, our lovely mod. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we've basically kind of gone through that already, actually.
What Charmander's one?
Yeah, kind of. Oh, I guess. Yeah,
sure,
I can look it up. Yeah.
When achievement doesn't unlock as it should, what are the steps you would take as a gamer versus what you would take as a game dev?
Oh, okay. This is great. Really good question, actually. So this is something that oh my good. I'm going to talk about V Sully for a little bit. Oh man, poor V Sully. This guy has been in so much pain having to re-earn achievements. He spent copious hours, like hundreds of hours, additional to what a game should be, in order to nab some pesky achievement. And he's lamented each time because I remind him of one crucial thing he can do. And thankfully that it has saved him a couple times already. When you get to a point in a game where there's either an achievement that is about to unlock and you may be wary of it unlocking, do yourself a favor. Make sure you saved, exit your game, hard exit the game completely, go back in and start playing. If that achievement doesn't unlock, immediately wipe your cloud save. While you're still in the game, it'll boot you out, back to the Xbox dashboard, play the game again, and your save should pick up from where you were before. Because, since you exited during your cloud save deletion, the game didn't overwrite your cloud save. So you'll be back to where you were before you met the prerequisites. Re-earn the prerequisites right away. If it pops that time, there you go. You're right as rain. You're good to go. And that is a tried and true method that has saved me personally many times and saved other people plenty times.
Same here.
Those are the kind of steps. You got to keep up in your dome piece to protect yourself from having to redo hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
There's definitely more like tips and tricks, but that's my main go-to is immediately. And even if you weren't able to stop and save before, it's always better to lose like 20 minutes or an hour as opposed to losing, 80 hours, 90 hours, redoing the whole game.
Sure.
Even if it's great, most people just don't like to have to do everything they just did.
We also have a question from Panda. What's an interesting tool or something you can use to unlock, use as an unlock requirement on the development side of achievements that doesn't really get used very often?
Let's see. Let me think. I'd say really it's just marrying multiple things together. You don't see that often.
Mm.
Like you don't really see a lot of crazy achievements that are like White Knight is a great example. On a full moon, get all of these items and beat the game in one sitting. during nighttime.
Yep.
Like you don't really see a multitude of requirements married into one and see it executed correctly. Like that's one of the games where it's always like I applaud those achievements because that's literally you did some acrobatics to make sure that worked.
They're just flexing. They're just showing them.
Yeah,
muscle.
you are flexing. Like for a lot of people, that's like how do you even wrap your head around the game knowing it's a full moon to start with? And then on top of that, you're telling the achievement to know it's a full moon and to know that the player has done this all in one sitting and to know that it's during nighttime, during X hours to X hours, and to know they got all of the collectibles, even if they had the collectible achievement and they did X, Y, Z, and they did all this during a playthrough, that's a lot of additional work on that achievement. So those are some of the things that I really think are interesting. Like I guess there's I don't know, there's a lot of other weird and wacky achievements, like registering that certain actions are done in a certain way, like how many times the player, I don't know, rings a bell, or there's you can make achievements do so many different things. They're very freeform. I guess if you wanted to ask about like what kind of achievements I haven't ever seen, I've never seen an achievement for like backflipping off a dragon while doing a donut in a motorcycle while diving into the water.
Unfortunately, Scalebound got cancelled, but
no.
That was the one opportunity and we missed it. It's unfortunate.
No, but there are achievements think of it in general. Software in general is a playground where as long as you can reasonably have an idea, there is some way, shape, or form to implement it. You just need to figure out the software science behind it.
I'm trying to think of like what the most complicated achievement was, but like White Knight is the perfect example of
all that stuff coming together.
Yeah, like whether it's something you don't really see.
Probably for good reason.
Think about it. There's not really a lot that are like because there's so much that can go wrong. There's and that didn't even debut as an unobtainable.
No, it worked. It's always worked. I mean, it's always been a bit finicky trying to work out exactly what it counts as the requirements, but like, the rules are in there, and like I've got the achievement. It's possible. We have a question from Firehawk, one of our previous guests. Do you feel the ratio of games released versus games released with broken achievements is getting better or worse overall?
I'd say we're getting. I mean, it's been about the same for like the past year and some change. I'd say that the response and the way that we're handling fixing things is exponentially better. Just in the last year since I've started doing Get Unobtainables Fixed, there's been more than 250 fixes that I've just been a part of in some way, shape, or form. And then that's not even counting the other margin where it's been the community who has also done things. I'd say there's easily like another 100 plus or so games that have just been handled by, the community standing on their feet and getting out there and saying something. So I mean,
that's a crazy.
I'd say this is the best time. This is the best time right now for achievement support and fixes. And if you're looking at all of the old games that we're getting fixed too, the catalog is slowly dwindling. At least for what's on the current gen consoles, the catalog is dwindling for unobtainables. And the goal for achievement fixers is to get it down to a point where we've exhausted every single possibility with these games that have unobtainables. So that we know now these are done deal. These need to get handled by some kind of change.
Right. I guess I understand if you can't answer this, but in terms of stuff for the policy change, some of the ideas you have, are you looking to make that a potential retroactive thing, or is that going to be a going forward thing?
I would like it to be a retroactive thing.
Sure.
My personal look at things is that if somehow, some magical way, the entire achievement system was changed and reworked, go back and get rid of every single unobtainable.
that'd be
where
amazing.
realistically where possible, reach out to representatives, reach out because I would assume there would need to be a level of consent if you're going to change fundamentally things about,
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, it's Microsoft's platform, so maybe they could just do whatever. I've seen them do whatever before.
Right.
So, I mean, it wouldn't be a far cry to assume that they could have a nice slice of whatever pie.
Just a couple more questions here. One from our friend Kiku. Have you been trying to fix Osmos unobtainable for games with Windows Live? If so, how's that going? I don't know.
Osmos.
Yeah.
Not particularly. I know what he's talking about, but I haven't really been going for it. I think we have one of the devs from behind Osmos inside of the Discord, and we've discussed it to a degree, but I haven't really been hounding that guy about it. I've more so been focused on like a multitude of other indies that I'm trying to get sorted. Like I think I've mentioned it before, but like a couple of my big breakthroughs recently are like the Phoenix Point thing. There's a meeting with Microid staff on tomorrow actually, to work out actioning their titles and getting those fixed. I got the hookup from Shadow Kisaragi. He actually had an email from somebody from eHome Entertainment. So that means I'll finally get to do something about Initial 2 New Stage, which is like a game I wanted to play for the longest. Now I can finally get that S-rank boss achievement worked at and get it touched up on. And then maybe hit some other titles. Like I know there's been a lot of gripes and concerns and moans about Gene Rain. Although I had the completion, I'm going to try to go back and help out people who got robbed out of it, because there's that weird update where they changed the entirety of the game and swapped it out with the new version of Gene Rain.
Right.
And like got rid of all the old stuff, like playing as the other two characters and all those other things. And it was really weird. There's a nice title update, but a really weird decision there to get rid of the entirety of the rest of the game.
Right.
Should just made it like Gene Rain 2 or something.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it's 2.0. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some other like minor stuff going on, like minor fixes. There's so much stuff going on now that like I even will forget and have to look at channels again where I put information down to go, oh, that's where I was at with this.
Right.
Like there's a lot of moving pieces. And I think, back on the time management question, that is one of the curses, is that I will very commonly forget that I was working on something until like it gets brought up again, because there's so much on my plate at once.
That kind
but
of
at the same time, I prefer that.
Right. Yeah. You'd rather be busy than not. Right.
Right.
Have to have things going on for sure. That kind of leads nicely into our last question here from Aftos. He says, do you have a sort of succession plan for when you quote unquote retire? Like where do you see, I mean, like, I assume you're not planning on doing this forever, right?
I mean, for the foreseeable future. I mean, I'm old, but I'm pretty young. So, I mean, I don't see why not. I honestly, I wouldn't see any problem with doing this for like the next 20 years.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I very much so kind of like the idea of being somebody who's there for the community and being able to help out. I mean, it gives me my own little serotonin burst, like knowing that I'm using my skills to help people. And then, I mean, it's also benefited me greatly. Like it has been professionally one of the best moves I've ever made, because I've gotten in touch with so many studios, made so many good friends along the way. And it's quite literally led me into doing more business with people. So like I guess not to make it like about greed, but it has led to more money in my pockets as well, like unintentionally, just because I've made new business partners by addressing issues and helping with fixes.
Yes, it's a win for everyone. That's the best case scenario for sure.
Oh, the best part is when it's a game that this is a real story. There was a game where I was the only person who played the game and it had broken achievements. And I went out and reached out. I got in touch with the dev and we worked on it together. We went through like 4 or 5 updates together, and I was still the only person who played it.
That's amazing.
And I got the full completion. Now there's like 2 track gamers on the game. It's me as the one completion, and then one other guy with like 15 gamers for on the game.
That's incredible.
It's a really good game too. It's kind of a shame. Like, it was a really kick-ass game.
Plug it. What's his name?
Alrighty. So it is Lotus Reverie by Conart Lobre. It's a visual novel / top-down battle hybrid.
There's
I will not give you
games.
any hints. There's 5 now?
There's 5.
Yep, it's five whole people. Yeah. Hey, it's on sale.
That's why there's 5 now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a couple of people
It's
I can't.
down to
can't miss
1466
this.
at the
Scoundrels.
moment, Australian. Like, jump on it.
What a steal! Get in there.
Let me look at it. I put up a guide for like one of the hardest achievements, and I was like, nah, take that down. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do all the, because I'll be honest, that was while I was still trying to complete the game. I took the guide down because I had I've been in situations before where I actively helped the person who stole first place from me like several times on other games.
Oh, that sucks.
Because I would put up guides as I did the game, trying to be a cool guy and help other people out, and then I get robbed out of like the last achievement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and then I'll be sitting there at the second completion. I'm like, no. It's not a huge deal to me, but it is a little sour. It's like,
that's fine.
I'm not helping any of you
like
guys
you're the
anymore.
work.
You can just talk to Microsoft and get his achievements removed, right? That's easy enough, right? They can do that.
There you go. Achievement is revoked.
Yeah, it's like, no, okay,
bad.
we'll just change the timestamps a little bit. It'll be fine.
I think the most brutal part has been like when I have been competitively going for achievements, like, hey, like I will be the first completion on this, and then like my military life gets in the way, and then somebody beats me out of a completion. I think that's the worst. Like there was one where I had to oversee essentially like a legal situation in the military. So I had to physically be present, to be a part of that whole process to facilitate justice being done. And literally in the meantime, Marky Shizzle beat me out of the Chivalry 2 completion. I was like, how dare you? I will be honest, I was mad. I was fuming.
I was going to say, I think I was in a party of your one stage and you're still going on about that.
Yeah, I was like, I can't believe it. I remember I messaged Marky. I was like, how dare you? I'll never forgive you. I mean, it's all in good fun. Like, I didn't say anything crazy. Like, I wasn't like, I hate you. I hope you die. Like, I didn't say anything crazy. But I was still like, oh, man, dude.
That's
like,
funny.
I was like, I wish I had the free time you did, man, because I was there. I even put up the achievement guide about the bread before they found the easy method. I was like, how dare you?
That's so funny.
Dear.
No, but
right.
it's good times all around.
It's that typical story of first, though. It's like we get like 99% of the way there. There's that one last achievement, then real life takes over for a day.
Yeah.
Everyone's watching Solitaire very, very carefully right now.
Day. I had the day before that off. So that was only the one day I had to work, and it was the longest day. I was there for like 18 hours. I was like, you have to be kidding me.
Oh my god. All right. Did you have anything else, Cameron?
No, I was just going to give Ray the opportunity just to cover anything else that he wanted to shill or
talk about before we close out the show.
Whatever's going to put him more money in his pockets.
Woo! There's nobody else with questions in chat? That's crazy to me.
I think not at the moment.
You guys better type. There's this is your golden opportunity, man. Ask me AMA, ask me anything.
Problem is
we're
doing it at a very irregular time to our normal schedule just so we could get you on.
Oh, man.
I guess.
Oh, well.
Is there? And I'm just check if there's any last minute stuff. When does the bath water drop?
Yeah.
My bath water or your bath water?
When's the achievement fixes bath water drop?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, do you guys have like a Patreon? Are you doing like you're doing like a nude calendar? That's what they keep asking us for. It's
Yeah,
like
we're doing a achievement fixers only fans where you'll
there
see
you
naughty
go.
achievements live. All these dirty unattainables bearing all to see.
I'd pay for a pay-per-view service of like naked women unlocking achievements. I'll get behind that.
No. Not
I'm
naked women. Not naked women. Naked achievements.
Naked
Like
achievements.
literally imagine an achievement, like an achievement.
Oh,
the
no.
background
I'm a rare
scripts.
diamond. You like rare diamonds, big boy?
Okay, all right. I'm bringing the show to an end
Okay.
before I get sued.
All right. Okay. That's right.
I was gonna say the TOS cancel police are on our way just for mentioning
Yeah, here it
OnlyFans.
is.
Yeah. All right.
dear.
Well, I'll just do some of the housekeeping here then. Thank you so much for joining us, Ray. Really appreciate you coming back and hanging out with us again and talking about achievements. I mean, Cameron and I and yourself spend hours upon hours working on this stuff on the front end, but it's always amazing to get some great insight on what actually happens to make this stuff happen. To the reason we're in this in the first place, the reason this stuff even exists, and how how it goes right and wrong.
And what our
no problem.
is going to look like in 20 years.
Yeah.
If you guys ever want to get like real hard hitting answers, don't be afraid to hit me up on Discord and say, hey, keep it real, man. What's it like out there? What can you tell me off camera that doesn't break an NDA?
Yeah, right.
That's just real deal, the true feelings about what's going on in the industry. Like I try to be transparent as possible, but I always like to be professional. So
yeah, sure, absolutely.
Just keep in mind, other than what I'm talking about, naked achievements, that's my exception.
That's the most professional venture ever. Yeah, exactly.
Sigma Sigma says he doesn't have a question, but he just wanted to say thanks for all the hard work.
Hey, appreciate you, man. Alrighty. I will draw some hype really quick to some of our good sprouts that are actively fixing achievements and being great studios. Let's talk about Samustai LTD fixing Katana Kata. Finally.
Nice.
It was a long battle. They knocked that thing out, knocked it out of the park. It's a great game. I actually went and completed it. Kicks ass. It's a lot like Dark Souls. It's like low poly Dark Souls. Check it out. It's samurai themed. Very well. I'd say it's more like Sekiro, but without the ninja grappling.
Sure.
And more low poly, but fun and interesting. Nonetheless. We talked about Sweet Witches a little bit. There's going to be a patch for that very soon, since they've narrowed down what the issue is. Later Daters is finally getting that patch that we've been talking about a long time ago. Pumpkin Jack did get that patch. The patch that I talked about the last podcast.
Yep.
That did happen. So all those nasty naysayers who were saying it was never going to happen, surprise! It totally happened. It's here. Devs do care. I pinky promise. The whole team at Master Mini Team is awesome. Awesome. They really kicked it in an overdrive to make that happen. Even with the crazy hand that they were dealt with being like a weird outsourced sister team. Monster Prom. The actual like project manager behind it and the creative director is still going ham on trying to find a solution to get a fix out for the save data deletion thing. Just keep in mind that's like another issue involving outsourcing, so it's pretty complicated. It's not an easy one to wiggle around, but that still matters. So Kami Kisu, if you're out there listening, that this is still going to get fixed. We're thinking about you. We're trying to get you a gift goodie basket. I don't know what that entails yet, but there is apparently a gift goodie basket in mind. I don't know how that's going to work.
Amazing.
But apparently you're going to get some fruits in a basket from Mihal. I don't know what he wants to put in there, but maybe stickers. I really like stickers.
Sure. Yeah, stickers work.
Alrighty. Yeah, that's the shorthand of fixes that I can think of off the dome. If any of you have ever played Anima Gate of Memories or anything like that, the new Anima game comes out early next year. Check it out. It's going to be awesome.
Great.
France make a new Anima game.
Love it.
Nice.
All right.
I think that's it. I'm gonna throw you guys like way over time.
That's fine.
We're probably already past time.
Yeah, no, it's all, no worries.
We'll make time for you. It's all
Yeah, always.
Oh, you guys are so sweet.
Right here, buddy. All right, well, if you want to come join in our conversation, and Ray here is also in our Discord, you can join us at discord.io/Hall of Gamers. You can come hang out there. We do the regular podcast. We have all of our competitions, stuff like that. We also do questions for this show and that sort of stuff. So make sure you check us out. We always do the show live, usually on Fridays or Saturdays. Hall of Gamers Pod. If for some reason you haven't seen this episode live, which you should have, but if you happen to be capturing it on Spotify or wherever, you can, see our beautiful faces as well. We've also got our Patreon, patreon.com/Hall of Gamers, where you can go and join us to join in a couple of competitions. We've got a competition at the moment for the game giveaway. Cameron, we'll announce that next
sorting
week.
it out, yeah.
Still sorting it out. So we'll announce that on the next proper episode. We've also got an episode of Lights, Camera, and Action, which we're going to put out to everyone this time, where we're going to watch Die Hard for the Christmas break, which would be great. So yeah, that's patreon.com/Hall of Gamers. And if you want to get in contact with us for any reason, email is hallofgamerspodcast@gmail.com. Twitter, we're at Hall of Gamers Pod. Discord, as we mentioned, is discord.io/Hall of Gamers, and patreon.com/Hall of Gamers. Make sure you write in your questions. Best place to get in touch with us, probably on the Discord. If you want to help out the podcast in other ways, subscribe to us on your platform of choice, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, that kind of thing. Leave us a review. Let us know that you've left us a review, because we don't have a review aggregator and there are way too many platforms to keep track of. And then word of mouth is always the biggest thing for us. Tell your friends. I usually talk about it in my TA boosting sessions, that kind of stuff, talk about the podcast and usually give the guys a shout out. So a big shout out to Manic, Victor, and Bomb for helping me out with Fear 2 over the last 3 months. I'm at 97%. I'm going to try and get it done this week, but I couldn't have done it without them, and then putting in, over 100 hours at this point in that.
Big shout out also to Orbit Bomber, who was in my Assassin's Creed Brotherhood boost the other day, that stayed back to help people, even though 2 people in our group just could not seem to match up with each other. It was one or the other in a boosting session on TA, and it makes it incredibly awkward when it's like, who are we keeping? Who are we taking away?
That's a little weird.
Ubisoft service, mate.
Yeah, right. If you want to get in contact with me, you can find me on Neomaster on pretty much everything: True Achievements, Xbox, and Discord. Cameron, what about you?
If you want to get a hold of me, you can find me under Shadowless Edge on Twitter, TA, Xbox, Instagram, and anywhere else I am. Yeah.
And Ray, where can people find you if you want to be found?
Yeah, if I want to be found, you can find me on True Achievements, good old Vudix. You can find me on Xbox, and you can find me on Discord if you just so happen to be in a server that I'm in. Go ahead and hit me up. I am totally comfortable with being DM'd. If for some reason you are looking for me in a professional capacity for some kind of work, you already know how to find me, hopefully. If not, the other same places.
Otherwise, follow the breadcrumb trail.
Yeah, follow the breadcrumb trail.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up the episode. A big thanks again, Vudix, for coming on and sharing your knowledge and just being a general all around great guy.
I appreciate it.
And a big thanks, of course, as always, to Charlotte for being the best moderator and human being anyone could ask for. And
Charlotte!
Yeah, Charlotte's great. Charlotte's great. Anyway, thank you all for joining us for this very special episode. We'll catch you guys episode 21 in the near future. Catch you guys later.
Bye-bye.